Yastrzębski. Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66 WFAN.
Alrighty, let's roll, baby. It is 2:06. Here on this early Monday morning, it is a 4-hour edition of JJ After Dark. That's right, John Jastrzemski in for the Moose, keeping you company right here on the Fan. 877-337-6666, two-way number to get in touch with the busy show, the Jedi Master, Russell Mathis, crossed away on the other side of the glass, the Maestro, Harris Allen, with your updates every 20 minutes. We are with you for the next 4 hours. Boomer and Carton, live from Giant Camp, coming your way at 6. The Fan right here in New York City. And I hope everybody had an outstanding weekend. And your weekend was even sweeter if you were a fan of the New York Mets. Think about how the narrative has changed, folks, for the New York Mets, their fan base, the franchise as a whole. Thursday into Friday, the Met fan was throwing their hands up in the air. After the Gomez trade, that wasn't. You got Wilmer Flores crying at shortstop. The Mets squander a 7-1 lead to the San Diego Padres. You're waiting for the Washington Nationals to come down. And you're wondering what the team is going to look like on July 31st. Now you fast forward to early Monday. The Met fan, waxing poetic. Citi Field was rocking like old Shea Stadium this weekend. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. As the Mets go out there and sweep the Washington Nationals. And now, believe it or not, folks, the New York Mets are tied for first place in the National League East. Who in their right mind thought that would be the case after the Mets lost that game to the San Diego Padres on Thursday? Not this guy. That's for sure. If you would have told me on Thursday night, JJ, the Mets are going to sweep the Nationals. The Mets are going to put themselves in first place in this division. Oh, and by the way, they're going to trade for Yoenis Cespedes in the process. Nobody in their right mind thought that was happening. Just because it's been the doom and gloom for the Mets, and maybe we're going to look back at this weekend series as the point in time when the doom and gloom for the New York Mets fan base and the franchise once and for all got put away. Because this weekend, it was fun to be a Mets fan. The crowds were rocking. The games were outstanding. And the Mets played exceptionally well. This is what you want to see out of this ball club. You know the starting pitching is going to be there. It was on Friday with Harvey. It was on Saturday with DeGrom, even though he got off to a rocky start. And with Noah Syndergaard, after he gave up that home run to Anthony Rendon in the first inning, the guy was brilliant. He made 2 mistakes, 2 go-for balls. Aside from that, he's going deep into the game. He's making some of the Nationals hitters look foolish, including Bryce Harper. And that's what you envision here with this Mets triple threat atop the rotation currently. DeGrom, Harvey, Syndergaard going out there and doing their thing. And you look at this game here on Sunday night. Think about the Mets for a minute. The Mets, the same lineup a week and a half ago that was running out Eric Campbell and John Mayberry Jr. 4-5. That lineup, if they hit 3 home runs in a week, you probably would have signed for it. The Mets in the 3rd inning here, Sunday Night Baseball, not 1, not 2, 3 dingers. Difference in the game. Granderson, who's been so good for this Mets team, he starts it off against Jordan Zimmerman. Then Murphy, even though ESPN, I don't know what they're doing with their camera angle. I'm checking my phone. I'm on Twitter, fooling around during the game, doing God knows what. You hear the sound, the crack of the bat. You know the ball is gone, but you're waiting to see it, for goodness sakes. I'm like, how do you miss a home run when you're showing the damn game? Shows you sometimes ESPN doesn't have a clue, and they try to get way too cute when it comes to these telecasts. And then you have Lucas Duda with his power surge that you've seen here over the last 8 games. 9 home runs in the last 8 games for Duda. And Lucas Duda, 2 weeks ago, had the deer in the headlights look. He looked shell-shocked. He's asking Terry Collins when they make the trade for Juan Uribe and for Kelly Johnson, Skip, is Kelly Johnson going to be playing first base? And I love the message that Terry Collins displayed to not only Lucas Duda, but the entire Mets team. He said it last Sunday after they won that game to the Washington Nationals. He told members of the media, I said to my team, folks, if you hit, you will play. If you don't, you won't. Case closed. And that's the way it should be. And clearly, since Terry Collins relayed that message, Lucas Duda looks like the player we saw in the second half of last year when he was a stud, when he hit 30 home runs. Now Duda, in this ridiculous power surge, has really given the Mets much-needed pop. The lineup looks so much different, so much more formidable than the way it was 2 weeks ago. With the presence of Cespedes, with Duda finally swinging the bat, you welcome back Travis d'Arnaud, you have Johnson, you have Uribe. You're cooking with something here. That's the feeling you got watching the Mets Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This team is in a race. The race is on now. No longer is it a pipe dream that the Mets can overtake the Washington Nationals. They're tied for first place. It is August the 3rd. 2 months of baseball left to play. We know that the Mets schedule, and it takes schedule for what it's worth in Major League Baseball, it's rather favorable over the last 2 months of this year. A lot of games with the Phillies. A lot of games with the Marlins. Can't have a letdown the next couple of days when you make the trip down to South Beach. You got to build upon what you did over the last 3 days. The fan base is back. The fan base is ready to believe. And my message to all you Met fans out there, you should be ready to believe. This team has shown you something here these last 3 games. They needed to show you that they could slay the dragon that is the Washington Nationals. The Nationals humiliated and embarrassed the Mets last season, 15-4. The Nationals went 9-1 at Citi Field. In fact, their dominance in Citi Field was so ridiculous. Had me scratching my head when I saw this nugget. I knew it because it felt like any time you would see the Nationals come to town, bare minimum they were taking 2 out of 3, and more often than not, they were sweeping the New York Mets. Going into this weekend, the Washington Nationals had won 33 of their last 42 games at Citi Field since 2011. To go out there and sweep the Washington Nationals, that is a statement series. That is as good as it gets. With those 3 pitchers, with the heroics of Flores on Friday, with Duda's heroics on Saturday, with the 3-run, 3-homer, 5-run barrage in the bottom half of the 3rd inning. That's all Noah Syndergaard needed. And now the Mets can dream big. The fan base can dream big. This fan base was down in the dumps. It's okay to admit it. I remember the program. Just a couple of days ago. Right before the trade deadline. Right after that 7-1 squandered lead to the San Diego Padres. A lot of you were not feeling the good vibes heading into the weekend. Neither was I. I was skeptical. I was curious to see what this organization was going to do as far as spending money, as far as buying in, as far as making this a legitimate playoff contender. Now there is no question, there is no argument, there is no debate. The New York Mets are a legitimate playoff contender in 2015. Look at the lineup. The lineup actually will strike some fear in an opponent. With the way Lucas Duda is swinging the bat, he's going to see good pitches to hit. Want to know why? Cespedes is hitting in front of him. A month ago, Lucas Duda, if he goes on a hot streak, that's it. He's getting garbage. Pitches in the dirt, pitches outside, balls upstairs. Not anymore. You could actually run out a legitimate, everyday professional lineup for this team. And when you complement that outstanding starting pitching with just an adequate adequate lineup, you're going to be very, very dangerous. Now, Citi Field has not been around for a very long time. 2009, it's not that long. This 3-game set, this weekend sweep, to me, the pinnacle, the highlight, the best 3 games I've seen at Citi Field. When you consider what was on the line, when you consider the magnitude of the games, when you consider the dramatic notion of Flores and what he was able to do and Duda and what he was able to do, for the first time, that ballpark sounded like Shea Stadium. And I loved it. I'm not even a Met fan. You guys know this. I'm not a Met fan. But it was awesome to hear the derogatory chants towards Bryce Harper. Even though calling Bryce Harper overrated is one of the dumbest things you could possibly say, but it's fun. And I enjoyed it. The Jason Worth chants. Getting on Jason Worth. Enjoyed that as well. That's what you want to see when first place is on the line. And you Met fans should be applauded. For those of you who showed up to Citi Field Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you made it an electric atmosphere to watch some baseball. And I hope that you'll see more of that electric atmosphere over the final 2 months. The division, much more realistic than a second wild card. Yeah, second wild card is still on the table, still in play. But when you consider the Mets have 6 games left with the Nationals, and when you consider that this team is now dead even with the Washington Nationals, that's your goal. Go out there and win the National League East. I didn't think it was possible a month ago. I have to admit. You just kept waiting for the Washington Nationals to turn their season around, and maybe they will over the final 8 weeks of the season. But I also know they're going to have a thorn in their side. The Mets are going to be a tough out. With what they were able to do with the trade deadline, with this starting pitching, you have legitimate reason to believe. And that was the feeling you got out at Citi Field watching these games and seeing the reaction from many of you Met fans. You are starting to believe. And hopefully now over the final 2 months of this year, it won't be the woe is me nonsense. Why isn't Sandy spending? The Wilpons need to sell the team. You notice we haven't taken many calls about the Wilpons selling the team when the Mets go out there and sweep a 3-game set. Shows you how the narrative can change at the snap of a finger. And that's exactly what happened here this weekend. Wednesday and Thursday were as bad as it gets for the New York Mets. As bad as it gets. This weekend, not only the highlight of the 2015 season, the highlight at Citi Field in its history. So, if you're waking up on this early Monday, if you're still basking in the glory, it's okay. It's a great day to be a Met fan. 877-337-6666. Get it rolling with the Mets. We'll mix in the Yankees. Good job out of them this weekend. Successful road trip, winning road trip, and the Yankees going to have their hands full coming up next weekend. We will get into that. But we'll get it rolling with your Met calls when we return. Right after.